everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Magical Jill, and today I have my husband with me to talk about why everyone loves Usagi from Sailor Moon.
Time to hijack this channel. I need a fifth one for myself.
Thank you. Yes, it's not like you need more channels or anything.
This is actually something I've wanted to talk about for a while because I feel like this character is extremely relatable, no matter who you are. You know, like there's so many people that relate to Usagi, and I honestly don't think I've ever seen anyone who just hates her.
I especially feel a very special connection to her because I feel like we have a lot of very similar personality traits. One thing that I think is extremely relatable about her that I also find very relatable in my own life is that she struggles a lot with academics, and it's not really because she's stupid, it's just because she really doesn't enjoy them.
Yeah, I think that there's a misconception, especially in Eastern cultures, unfortunately, but it's in the West as well, that if you don't do good in school, you're an idiot. And people poke fun at her, Usagi's friends poke fun at her for this, but the thing is, she has her own values, her own positive attributes.
Her own set of skills.
That even if she is a little ditzy sometimes, she's not an idiot.
No.
You know, she very clearly has an extremely high emotional intelligence. But just because she doesn't have the highest intellectual intelligence all the time, or because she doesn't dedicate her effort to that area of expertise, it doesn't mean that she's any lesser than anyone else. I think actually a lot of people who have issues with dedicating their time to learning, they relate to this character, because a lot of people I know feel like the school system is not relatable to their lives.
Yeah, and a lot of people feel like they kind of fall through the cracks in that a lot. And I think Sailor Moon especially is one of those people that kind of seems to fall through the cracks of the school system, but still finds a way to make her life meaningful and happy. And that's something that I really admire about her. One of the things that I absolutely love about her is the fact that she is able to bring people together and see the good in others no matter who they are.
Mako is probably one of my favorite examples of this because Mako was seen when she transferred schools almost as a bully. People were afraid of her. You know, when Umino talks about her, when Usagi basically says, "Who's that?" Umino says that the word around the school is that she got kicked out of her last school for fighting with people, and that she's kind of terrifying and scary and really tall, and that people should leave her alone because she looks angry. And Usagi just sees her lunch and thinks, "Yum, food.
That looks delicious.
This girl's pretty and her food looks pretty too. I'm gonna go talk to her."
Yeah.
You know, like very quickly she can break through boundaries that I think a lot of people put up and a lot of other people aren't willing to see past.
And then Usagi's like, well, that food you've got, it looks really good.
Yeah. Mako, the first time Usagi ever sees her, fights off a couple of bullies.
Yeah.
You know, for Usagi.
And Usagi was kind of starstruck by her. She was like, wow, she did that for me?
Yeah, and you know, she does this with pretty much all of the main cast. Ami's another one.
Yeah, Ami is seen as the weird academic girl who has no friends and only cares about studying. But that isn't true, and Usagi sees right through it and becomes her friend, one of her best friends.
Yeah, almost immediately, and sticks up for Ami.
And they hang out together all the time, especially in the first season.
And it doesn't matter that they have different academic levels and achievement.
And
they're still friends.
I think it's sweet that they kind of balance each other out, that she has Ami learn how to have more fun, and Ami helps her learn how to study better.
Well, the same thing with Rei. Rei's kind of the quiet shrine girl. You know, she even mentioned that other girls kind of walk by and they act like she's a freak and a weirdo. They're like, oh, she's that weirdo that has the spiritual connections, and they say that she can hear ghosts and stuff when they're talking about her in the first season. And you can tell that she's lonely.
Yeah.
You know, she really only has her grandfather and her shrine.
Yeah.
And Usagi kind of helps break down those walls. I know Rei is different. Rei and Minako are both very different in the 90s anime versus Crystal in the manga. They have different driving forces and things like that. But in both of those versions, Usagi is the bridge that brings these people together.
Yeah, a lot of the girls, or I guess every single one of the girls, kind of seemed very lonely and sad before Usagi brought them all together and made them a group and made them feel welcome and loved for one of the first times in their lives, and I find that extremely special.
Minako's another example of that too, especially in the 90s.
She shows up out of nowhere with very few connections to people, especially since she lived so long in England. She doesn't really know anyone in Japan anymore, and Usagi just accepts her right away and doesn't treat her any differently than anyone else, even though she was the legendary Sailor V that she had, like, a huge girl crush on, like, the entire first season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she just slowly becomes familiar with her. Honestly, almost immediately they click. And they're both goofballs. I think, Minako and Usagi are so similar.
I think it's really funny that a lot of the first season, Sailor Moon says, I wish I was perfect like Sailor V, and then cut to Sailor Venus being almost just as clumsy as
a total doofus.
As Usagi is.
A total doofus who can't even get basic quotes right.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things about her.
No use crying over spoiled milk, and they have to tell her it's spilled milk.
She's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's either way. I think she's really funny. And, I do want to mention, too, she sees the same good in villains as well. Like, for example, Nephrite. Usagi, unfortunately, even though the plot dictated that she couldn't get her healing power until the very next episode to save Nephrite in the 90s, which is very convenient, she still accepts Nephrite's redemption and tries to help him.
And she accepts the relationship that he has with Naru. At first she was not happy about it, but then when she realized he was actually genuinely trying to change, she really wanted them to be happy together, and she wanted to help save him.
Well, and same with the Black Moon Clan. Mm-hmm. She goes so far out of her way to help some of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she does, especially the sisters, the supernatural sisters, or I guess in some continuities they're called the Spectre sisters. Mm-hmm. They are starting out as evil and disenfranchised villains who kind of hate each other and don't treat each other as sisters, and she shows them what it's like to live on Earth and be happy and love each other and have friends and not be so sad and angry all the time. And yeah, I think that's beautiful. I love when she redeems villains and makes them better people.
I do think that ties very much into her pure heart.
Yeah. I remember when they take her pure heart crystal, or at least try to, it glows more than anyone else's in the anime.
Yeah.
Because she's just got such an extremely pure heart, and she cares about people so much. She cared so much about her friends that she was willing to die for them multiple times. Mm-hmm. And she almost died for Sailor Saturn, someone that she didn't really know too well at the time, but she wanted to go in there and save her at the end of Aesth.
And she knew how much she mattered to Chibiusa.
Yeah, and tried to make sure that she was okay.
One thing I think is really cool about this, pure heart is, well, two things. First off, she could very easily use her sailor powers for bad. Mm-hmm. There's nothing actually preventing sailors from doing bad things, which is something we would definitely see later on in arcs in the manga and anime and Crystal, is that sailors are not necessarily incorruptible.
Yeah.
But Usagi almost has an incorruptible heart.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of Superman.
That's why she's so special. That's one of the reasons why I love her so much, is because she reminds me of Superman. Growing up, I used to really like Superman, especially the Smallville show, and how pure-hearted he was, and how he wanted to help everyone all the time. And I thought, wow, I want to be like that. And then when I was introduced to Usagi, I thought, wow, she's a lot like Superman in a lot of different ways, and I love her for that.
And she also goes through so much character growth in every version. The reason I mentioned the 90s versus Crystal and all that is because there's always going to be differences, but no matter what version of Usagi you look at, she basically starts out as a crybaby. She's kind of emotionally immature. She cries at everything. She's scared about everything. She doesn't even know how to conduct herself, but she grows a lot in many different ways.
Yeah, I remember her first fight, she starts crying and she doesn't even want to fight the enemies. And then they use that one power for her buns that they never use again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they use it twice ever in the manga, where one time it's her and one time it's her and Chibiusa.
At the same time.
Scream/cry and their bun gems protect them.
I think that's pretty cute.
Never came back, which is unfortunate, which is honestly a video topic in and of itself, things that never come back in Sailor Moon.
A lot of her character development revolves around her starting to accept the fact that she's going to become a queen someday, and that she's a princess at the moment, and that she's learning that love isn't always easy. For example, in the anime, she kind of pushes Mamoru away early on. Her and him kind of fight a little bit, and she doesn't realize that she likes him, and he doesn't realize that he likes her. But then she realizes, even though that he is a bit abrasive in that continuity at times, that he truly does care about her. And you see that a lot of times throughout the anime, where she might get a bad test score, and he'll say, well, I guess we can't go out on any dates until you fix your test score. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of his version of tough love, because he cares about her and wants her to succeed.
Well, and he starts to push her to accept her queenly duties, over time and grow as a person. you would never expect Usagi the Crybaby, as she was actually called in one of the episode titles early on, to become Usagi a leader. I do think, unfortunately, in the 90s, it moves a little bit away from Minako's leadership position, which is something people have brought up. I think they could have probably done both, like they do, in the manga. But I really like the idea that Usagi goes from someone who feels helpless to somebody who helps others all the time. I think that's one thing that's so relatable. So many people feel helpless. They feel like I can't affect the world around me. I can't affect these things right in front of me. But Usagi kind of personifies the idea of if you're helping one person,
you're helping everyone.
And that person goes on.
Kind of like May Parker from Spider-Man.
And that person goes on to actually affect other people. That's a big deal.
Like a butterfly effect.
It's just a little ripple, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but Usagi, is able to do that and change so many lives in the process.
She even puts in more effort to go to these study sessions with her friends because she cares about her friends and because she actually wants to try harder, even though she's not exactly doing the best job at it.
No, but she's at least showing up, and she's trying. And I think that shows how much she grows, because even with her power, it grows as her love and empathy for others grows. There's a lot of times in every continuity where without showing love, she wouldn't have gained more power. Or she would have just died.
Like, I'm pretty sure it's in R or the beginning of Aesth. It's one of those where her and Mamoru, their love creates that spiral heart rod that she uses. And I think that's so sweet, and that's her more powerful version of the rod that she was using before.
Right. Yeah, I think that it's really cool to actually see how her love and her kindness manifests as power. And I think that in a world that often shames people for being loving to others, and it often treats kindness as weakness, to see Usagi's kindness manifest as strength, I think is a really cool message.
She also accepts that one day she will become a mother and begins acting out of motherly instincts as almost like an older sister for Chibiusa, and starts really actually looking out for her and caring for her, even if sometimes she finds her a little bit annoying. I think it's really sweet, their relationship dynamic, that she cares so much about Chibiusa.
Yeah, and, to kind of build off of that and add to what you said before, she really goes from not even being willing to stand up to defend herself in the very first episode, when she becomes Sailor Moon and she says, "This is too hard for me, I can't do this. I'm terrified," to being willing to lay down her life for the entire world more than once. That kind of ties into both how she accepts her role, accepting being Chibiusa's mom, and accepting being one of the guardians of the entire universe, and that kind of thing mattering. And even later on, in the story, we get to see how she rises against impossible odds, especially in the final arcs of the manga, to do things that she never really should have been able to do, that I don't think most people would have had the strength to do, because they wouldn't have been able to sacrifice the way that she does.
I think it's really special because it kind of goes to show that even though she's just a big dork and she loves food and she's kind of clumsy, she's still always trying her best in everything that she sets her mind to. And I think the big point of it is anyone can be like her. If they are kind enough and they care enough to make a difference in the world, they can be like Usagi as well. And that's something that's really special to me.
I think it really matters a lot, and it kind of reminds me a lot of how Luke Skywalker is. The idea of anyone can get angry and lash out with their strength, but it takes a special kind of person to put it away, to lay down their sword and say, like, this is causing more harm than good. That's the kind of person Usagi is.
Yeah.
She's not the kind of person to shoot first and ask questions later. She's the kind of person to always try and see the good in people, always try and grow.
Always try to fix things before fighting.
Yeah, and I think that that's something very special. I think that it's interesting how different that is from a lot of different anime, manga, and just stories in general. I think it's very special, and I think it really resonates with people.
I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you subscribe and leave a like and maybe leave a comment about why you love Usagi so much. And I also wanted to mention I have this really awesome shop called cosmobunny.shop or magicaljill.com. I make really cool resin pieces on there, so I will take damaged manga and damaged comic books from stores that can't sell them anymore, and I will put them into coasters or trays or keychains, and I have a lot of really awesome stuff on there. A lot of it's manga themed, a lot of it's comic book themed, And then I also have handmade jewelry that I do take commissions for. So I hope you guys go check out my different kinds of art on my website. I think it's really awesome. I do have a 10% off code. It's all caps Sailor. And I hope you guys use that at checkout. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.